Hello guys, in this video I want to show you how I did my connections for XT60, this little connectors I got. Gonna use soldering method. I'm not gonna use one with the wires that I show you one before. There is some comes with the wire. I'm gonna post link for both of these guys, so they have female, male and female that just goes in really tight. So this XT60 designed to hold up to 60 amp, so we're not going to be using even close to that, but it's a really good connection. If you use proper wire, it's not going to overheat over the connectors. Okay, so that's the beauty of this guy. So we'll be welding the splitter, which I'm going to have 3 of these coming out and 1 coming in. So this way I'll have this 3-way splitter, and I'll show you what is this for just in a minute. Let me finish that welding. All right, so we just finished soldering this little guy right here. Something wrong with the focus. I don't know if you guys can see. That's so weird. It doesn't focus on that thing, maybe because of this yellow holder. Anyways, so we have this 3-way splitter. The reason I decided we're gonna solder this thing, just because they sell online only 2-way. I found the 3-way, I didn't find it a good connector, so I decided I'm just gonna solder this guy. Let me know what you think. I'm not sure why is it not focusing, sorry about that. It's supposed to get good focus on that thing and it doesn't. Anyway, that's how it looks. Make sure you don't screwed up with any positive, all the positive together, all the negative on the other side. So if you flip any of this, you can damage your equipment. In our case, we don't want to damage our KS0, so we very careful, all the positive in one end and the negatives on the other side. So it soldered pretty good, all solid. It's not going to be a lot of amperage going on through this. Although this first input is going to have probably around, still issue with the focus, hold on just a sec. All right, so we're back, hopefully it's a little better, you could see this connection. So I've got all this soldered together pretty solid, so we have a lot of amperage going to be coming, about probably 10-12 amps through the input, and then 3 amp to every output. Yeah, probably around 3.2 amps. So yeah, we're not getting more than 10 amps. So that's our connector right there, splitter, okay, 3-way. Now let's go and finish our power converter. Okay, so we're back to our power converter right there, right? So this is the step-up converter. It converts 12 volt DC to 19 volt DC, 20 amp rated. So this little guy is a 20 amp rated. It's not very little, it's like my you could see on my arm. Anyways, there is an input, 12 volt input. So the input I'd like to use on the input part, we're gonna use the male jacket, right? The male jack, so it just can go in to plug in, and then the output will be female. So we're gonna solder these 2 guys, one on this end, one on this end. Again, keeping positive and negative in the proper way. So we'll be back in a sec. All right, so we're done with our input. We put positive, the red to the positive connector. I don't know if you could see guys there. It doesn't really, you could tell this negative has a little minus, I guess. Anyways, and I have this little cool cover that I don't need to use heat shrinks. Just slides right over, and that's it. Look at this connector. So the reason I want to do that instead of using quick, this little quick connectors can be used with the wire, already wired connector, which could be easier, but I don't really want something loose. I just want to permanently get this, and so when it's on the rig, I don't need to worry about this. This kind of more to me as a temporary connection. So let's get to the second one and put the output. Okay, so we Done with our output connector. Same thing, make sure positive goes to positive. There is sometimes you can see a little positive and negative part it doesn't sign, but you can say the straight is the positive, always keep it straight. So our positive yellow, negative is black, and we put in this cover back together just like that. See how beautiful it is. So there is everything protected, there is no exposed wires, and this connector is ready to go. So we have input positive on the flat side, negative on the round side. Same thing here, positive is yellow, so red and yellow. So make sure you keep that, that's very important. If you do a little mistake, that causes a lot of trouble with your device. So now back to our PCIe connector, right? So we cut it on half. We're gonna use the first side and we're gonna solder our female connector XT60 just to this side. Again, keep positive, yellow positive here, and black is negative. So we're gonna connect that and go back and slide this. It was a little bit harder. We're gonna use all 3 wires on PCIe just so we can use maximum amperage and the no issue with overheating in the future for these cables. And it's a 16 gauge wire, which is going to be great. All right, so this was a very difficult connection to make, I guess, just because these 3 wires, they're just so hard to put them together. So I'm gonna slide this down as much as it goes because it's the thicker wires, but it will work for the purposes. So now we have this PCIe to our server power supply, 12 volts and outputs. So what we're gonna do is connect them. Okay, so we're back to our converters. So we have input. Remember to watch the input, 12 volts. And the reason I'm doing inputs with males always, it's like your plug, right? So you plug in something into the outlet, so you always have like a male there, and then the female is on it's an outlet, it's like in your wall, right? It just works for me better. You can do wherever you feel comfortable. So now I have this PCIe male that goes in the breakboard in my server PSU, and we connect this together. So now you could see also like the black with black, yellow with red, that's positive side, negative side. That's just one more time to confirm your correct connection. This is really important, so make sure don't mess it up if you do anything like that. Again, do your own research. I don't recommend doing that. It's just for the video, just to show you guys how I did it. Okay, so now we're gonna connect this to our breakboard power supply, and this end gonna go to our 19 volts splitter, right? So we're going to split this and connect to 3 of these guys will go to each of KS0, 19 volt, 19 volt, 19 volt. And we're gonna use for that purpose that little connector device that's just gonna go right inside here. And we're gonna have on the other end this little connector. And I have, for one of them, I have adapter because I have 5.5 by 2.5, so I didn't get all of this yet delivered. And this is my 5.5 to 2.5 connector that goes directly to KS0. All right, so before we do that, I'm gonna put in between this connection, I'm gonna put the meter, power meter on the 12 volt side and the power meter on the 19 volt side, so we can compare the voltage and amperage. Okay, so we'll be back to that. All right, guys, we're back at my rig. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna connect this 20 amp 380 watt converter. Currently I have this 10 amp, which is 190 watt converter that connected already to 2 of these KSO, 2 of these guys. And I'm gonna show you some power input, power output on this device because it's already connected and been running for a little bit. This gets a little bit warm. I don't want to say too hot, but let's check the specs and let's check this. So it's basically rated for 10 amp. The spec says the best is 50% usage. So at 5 amp it gets the best efficiency. If we're gonna go to 64, probably safe to use to up to 80%, so we can use 8 amp on this safely. I wouldn't recommend using 10 amp. However, I'm not gonna be using that, and I'll show you why I'm gonna be using just only this 20 amp. So let's take a look how it's connected. So from my breakboard, I have this wire right from breakboard. PCIe wire goes into the input of this watt meter, and then it goes to the input of my 10 amp converter, right? So we are getting 12 volt on the input side, 128 watts. And then on the other side, I have the other meter connected, right? So we are getting, I hope you can see, guys, these readings. I'll go a little closer. So the first one is 128 on 12 volt side. And then the second one is, we are getting 19 volts, 1907, which is great. It's pretty stable voltage, about 6.4 amp, 122 watts. So we are about 64% using this converter, which is below, but it's only good enough for 2 of my KS0s. And I don't want to buy a bunch of this. I guess I'm gonna just go with the 2 of these, because I can safely connect under 50% usage for 2 of these guys, 3 of my KSO, and use all 6 of them just on 2 converters. Okay, now let's look at the power. Power is for 2 units directly connected there. We only using 120. That's about 60 watt per each. It's insane. That's so little. Of course, on the rating it's 65, which is on the other side, so we are losing about 6 watts for both units on this converter. So that's about 5% loss. So we are at 95% efficiency, which is pretty good for this unit. We're gonna go back and check this unit. Let's hook it up, connect 3 of these KSO. So we're gonna be connecting 1, 2, 3 just to 1, and then for this one I'm gonna leave just 1 for now, the very last one, and then we'll compare the reading on our I only have 2 power meters, so I'm gonna be connecting everything to this 20 amp. Let's do this. All right, so we're back to our unit. We connected this 20 amp converter to our breakboard of the PS server, PSE output, right? So we have 12 volts. What's interesting is there is 0 usage. There's nothing used on the idle. So when nothing connected, there is a, by the way, there's a 19 amp. You could see 19.09. Look at the voltage. It's pretty much straight 1909, just a little bit over 19 on the other side of output. And there's 0 watts, 0 amps. So there is no consumption on the idle, which is beautiful. There is no heat. There's nothing this unit create. I've seen reviews that the people say this is really gets hot, and I guess when you overload, that could be true. So anyways, let's disconnect and connect our side of the KS0. So what we have here is our splitter we just did. I rubbed with the electrical tape. I don't want any exposed connection, so don't judge me. It looks pretty ugly, but it works. So we have this output, the load side of the meter connected to this 3-way splitter, and this splitter connects to this adapters that 5.5 by 2.5 to the XT60, right? XT60 connector. So that's how it looks pretty much. I don't know if you could see, guys. Try to zoom in on this thing. Yeah, that's weird. Something wrong with the focus here. This is the way we're gonna put it all together, and let's connect to our KS0 all this hardware right there. So we're gonna move up here, right, and we're gonna use all 3 of these power cords. So we're disconnecting from the power supply, the stack power supply. All right, so all this gone, and now new wiring we're getting. See that. All right, so we connected number 1 and number 2, and number 3. The third wire, I haven't got 4 more of these wires yet. It's supposed to come today. I just want to finish this video, and for now it's going to be just temporarily this wire that I made myself, that connector, but these 2 are wires that I purchased. It's already pre-made, very solid made. Looks like the wire really thick. I'm really happy with that. There's no heat on any of this connection. I ran it for 24 hours before, so it's all great. So let's connect this 3-way splitter to our power 19 volt. Okay, so now be very careful, make sure all your positive, negative, I'm gonna freak out if they're positive, negative, wrong, but before you connect, look at these 2 connectors, right? They're all together in the right direction, and boom. So of course we are upside down, which we're gonna wait for a little bit just to get our reading. So it's 19 volts. It just started booting up these miners. You could see our lights just starting up. All right, so let's wait for 5 minutes and we'll get back. Okay, so we're back. We've been mining for a little bit over 16 minutes now. You could see I got all of 4 of these miners hashing 16 minutes. This one goes 16 minutes, and number 3, let's refresh, 16 minutes, 20 actually minutes, and number 4, 17 minutes. So all of them being on the network, they're here on the pool showing up, the 3 and 4, and on my hum pool the other 2 is here. So they're all mining not the full hash rate, but some hash rate went to the 130. Now it's adjusting on some of the miner. This one is 109, it's gonna probably drop. This one 106 gigahash, and this went to 124, and now it's 63. Again adjusting, they all do that. The temperatures are around 34, 43, but equal because I'm running those fans behind, which keep them pretty cool, 35, 43, and lower if I get the fan speed a little bit faster, but I don't really need. See how quiet it is, and that's what I'm trying to make them quieter, kind of set up like a rig that can be used as a little maybe heater. So, but they're really, really cool. I mean, there's no temperature. I couldn't find my temperature reader, but it's, I want to say it's probably just about 75 degrees. Really, really cool to touch. My converters are really cool to touch, so there is nothing been heating. The hottest is probably this power supply. I don't know why is it getting a lot warmer. Maybe they all do on the server side. Anyway, let's look at my reading. So on the 12 volt, I do have 194 watts, right? So for the three of this KS0 that using this converter, we have 194 watts, and then on the 19 volt side we are using 185. I'm sorry about that. 185 watts, 19 volt. But look at the voltage; it's pretty stable, and it's 9.78 amp. So we are under 10 amp for 3 miners, which we are not exceeding 50% of this device. It's really cool. So for $40, we're getting what, $13 for each, plus the existing power server ESU you may have, and the breaking boards from the GPU mining. So that's basically set up, because they have a bunch of this laying around. They have a bunch of the wires and cables from the GPU cards. So very simple setup. The wire, the connections, everything seems really, really cool. None of these connections are heating up anywhere, which I'm really happy with. Everything is just really stably cool. at all of the connections. So if any connections getting hot or warm, too warm or too hot, you feel that may be a bad connection, but everything is so super cool, which that's what's important to check all of your connections. So this is set up I use for this quick connector because it's temporarily. I'm gonna probably return this and get one more of 20 amp for my other three KS0, and that will be a 6 KS0 mining rig. So I will have 6 fans and 1 fan blowing on these guys at the end. I'll probably stack them like this or just sideways or 1-to-1. We'll see how much space we'll have, but this last fan keeping them super cool. And let's look at the power reading at the wall. So right now with all the fans running for 4 miners, we are 305 watts. If I'm gonna disconnect my external fans, those fans right now, we are, see how quieter it is, we are at 297. So really just about 10 watts, for this fans. Okay, so not really much. So we're gonna keep them running, because if I don't run these fans, KSOs get super hot on the top, but with the fan running, they're just perfectly cool. Very cool. There's enough airflow between them. I'm really happy with this setup, and I'll be finishing up this rig in the next few days, I guess, and we'll find this place for it. We don't really need much space. We can make it really shorter. I mean, I can customize it to really cut it down, because we don't have any motherboards or anything. We can layer this down to almost like an Octominer case, although it doesn't fit in my Octominer by about an inch, which could be also modified. The Octominer case could be modified and raised up by 2 inches on the cover, and this way it takes less space. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about it, and we'll be finishing up this set, and I'll see you in the next one.